You're tuned into the Tech Vet along with.
Hello, guys. It's Brooke from Cybertainment.
And in today's video, Brooke is going to have me talk about ransomware as a service. Let's dig in.
Okay, Geronimo. So could you tell me what are some key characteristics that differentiate ransomware as a service versus traditional ransomware?
Yeah, so ransomware it's an attack mechanism, right?
Okay.
Basically, if you haven't heard the news, MGM got hit with it, Caesars got hit with it, and that's when regular ransomware is when someone attacks you. Maybe they'll have you click on a link in an email, and they'll just execute a malicious code that encrypts your data on your machine, basically, right? And then they'll email you and say, hey, we encrypted your data. If you want your data, you have to pay this ransom in cryptocurrency if you want it back. That's ransomware. Ransomware as a service is there's actually companies that would just do it for you. You can either pay them a subscription fee or you can do a profit share. So like, and the way that the profit share works is if you're using ransomware as a service, instead of paying them a subscription fee, they just get a percentage of whatever you get every time you attack someone, and they pay the ransom. Yeah, so that's the difference. They just the biggest difference, they make it user friendly. Ransomware, you actually need to know what you're doing with the coding and encryption and stuff like that. Ransomware as a service, you don't really need to be that gifted. You can just subscribe to it, do profit sharing, and they'll just do all the work for you. Kind of like Microsoft Word, right? You pay an annual subscription, you get to use Word.
Yeah, so it's a third-party service.
It's a third-party service, yeah.
Oh, wow. And how does that impact the overall security of an organization?
I would say that it weakens it, and not in a bad way, right? To say, hey, your company's weak. Not saying that, but it will definitely make the company's cybersecurity teams work a little bit harder. Because when you make something so user friendly, it's easier to just attack. So now your cybersecurity teams, they got to stay on their toes, right? And work a little bit harder. So and then when people have to work harder, you need to build a bigger cybersecurity team that costs more money, right? So it's more expensive, it's more costly, and you got to stay on alert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always got to stay on alert. What strategies and or technologies can organizations employ to defend against these ransomware as service attacks?
The people, really. You just got to invest in really good tech talent. Your network engineers need to be very skilled, so maybe they can try to catch that from the network infrastructure side. You want threat hunters, right, that are constantly out there hunting for those threats so they can recognize an attack when it's coming. And then you need your analysis. You need good technology. I know CrowdStrike is a good one. There's others too. You got Zscaler, stuff like that. So you need to invest in the right talent and invest in the right technology to try to defend your systems the right way.
Well, that's great. You really have to have good people and a good team to make sure that your stuff is secure.
Yep,
Yeah,
definitely.
I completely agree. Is there any noticeable trends or changes that you've seen in the techniques and tactics used in ransomware as a service?
The fact that people are actually starting to use it and it's working. Again, I'll reference the MGM attack, Caesars attack, 'cause I think that took a lot of people by surprise. And some of the articles that I read, it's just they were young kids that was doing it. And maybe that's the real difference is these attackers really that you've been hearing about lately. They're young kids, like 18, 19, 24, the oldest. That's it's pretty crazy, right?
It's pretty crazy, pretty wild.
Pretty crazy.
Wow.
So yeah, the attackers are getting younger. And then I think some of the trends are some of them, yes, they're doing it for the money, but some of them are just doing it just to make a statement, which that's kind of always been the deal with your hackers. But for them to be so young, that's crazy. Because again, it makes it so easy to do, right?
Yeah, that's insane. So can you discuss some of the legal and ethical challenges that are associated with prosecuting those involved in ransomware service attacks?
Yeah, so I'll start with ethics, right? On the ethics side of it, those that are actually doing the attacking, they have no ethics, right?
Yeah.
As a certified ethical hacker, we learn those concepts to how to protect our systems and stuff like that, right? So the ethical folks aren't doing the attacking. It's the ones that don't have ethics, unless they have maybe a legit reason if you're doing like some cyber offensive type work, right? But as far as the legal side of the house, for example, if a commercial company, private sector company, name one. I don't know. Give me one. Give me a company. Just name one.
Okay, let's go with like Target.
Target, which they've been under some they've been under some heat. It's been a few years since Target was actually it wasn't a ransomware attack, but they haven't had the best history of having good cybersecurity. But anyway, let's say if Target got hit with a ransomware attack, right? The first thing they need to do, contain it and then call the FBI, because it's very limited what the private sector companies can do when it comes to those types of attacks. And the FBI, they recommend not paying a ransom, because then it's not guaranteed that you get that data back. The customers are still at risk, and now say Target or Target, right? Depending on how you feeling. Now you're out the data, you're out whatever compensation you got to give your companies and the ransom money that you paid, right? And then another thing too with that is oftentimes with tech, the laws don't keep up. So I think it creates a lot of gray area, right? So it's just like, what do we do? Right. I think even our lawmakers are trying to figure that out.
Because it's almost blurring the lines now between cyber criminal and somebody who simply wants to purchase and employ some ransomware software. Right?
Yeah, I can see what you're talking about. I think if you're using it, they're still going to be categorized a criminal, depending on like what they're doing with it. Like if they do it to any financial gain, I think that's when they turn into a criminal. And I am not a legal professional at all. So if anyone's watching that, chime in on that, because I don't know. But
no, I guess it makes sense though, because that's when it sort of turns into extortion, right?
Yeah, that's the cyber extortion crime.
Right,
hey, that sounds good actually. That makes sense. That is extortion, right?
Yeah.
Which I do believe is a crime. Which I'm not gonna quote me, but I'm sure that's a crime, right?
I believe so, but y'all can go and Google it to double check.
Google is your friend.
Yeah.
But if it was someone who maybe just did that just to make a statement but didn't get any financial gain, maybe they accomplished whatever goal they were trying to accomplish non-financially, maybe what they get hit with legally might not be as crucial.
No, that makes total sense. So moving on to the next question, what are some potential global implications of ransomware as a service, and how do these international organizations and governments collaborate to combat this threat?
All the future wars would be fought in cyberspace. So it's
Wow.
In the past, right, it was the ground, then the sea, then the air, then space, right? The Cold War, the whole thing about that was who was going to get to space first, and now we're in cyberspace, right? Yeah. So now the wars are being fought everywhere: ground, the water, the air, space, and now cyberspace. So it just adds a extra layer to our war fighting, if that makes any sense.
Wow, no, I mean that's a perspective I've never even thought about, and it makes it pretty scary.
It's scary out here. It's funny because they call cyber people nerds, right? But hey, they fight what they call the silent war.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff that goes on that a lot of people just don't even hear about. But also too, going back to ransomware as a service, some of those silent fighters are the ones trying to protect against that too.
Makes sense. Oh, that makes complete sense. So what would you say is the role of cryptocurrency and ransomware as a service?
Well, that's like the main way they get their ransom, right? Because it's very hard to trace. I know, certain entities are getting better at that, but that's the thing. It's once you pay it, it's very difficult to track those folks down to try to prosecute them if they're even in the same country, right? And if they're not in the same country, even harder. Mm-hmm. So back to the earlier question, you talked about like the legal
legal and global implications at
global,
this point.
yeah. It's just,
all of it.
It makes it even that much more of a mess. It makes it even more messy.
They're all tied in.
Yup.
So, TechVet, could you share some examples of successful interventions and strategies used by ransomware as a service operators that prevented ransomware attacks?
Well, the thing, you know what drama sells, right? So I haven't read of any like successful stories of teams being able to stop it. Because just they.
Nobody wants to hear
the
that.
Positive stuff. No one wants to hear it, right? I could come up with a bunch of examples of compromises and attacks, successful attacks. As far as preventing them, our team has been pretty good, right? The team we work with, doing what we do every day in a DevSecOps environment. A lot of government entities, we're good at preventing them, except for the State Department, unfortunately. That's a whole different story. Hey, it's public news.
Yeah,
so
no, you're right. You're right.
So most of the government agencies, I think, are really good at preventing that. But unfortunately, there's just not that many success stories, if you will, as far as like getting in the way, intercepting it, and stopping it from happening. If they are, they're not putting it out.
Well, nice. Thank you for sharing that. So I think really the main thing that y'all need to remember to do is staying informed and implementing these strong security measures to prevent against any potential attacks, including ransomware as a service.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Stay on your toes. You got to stay on your toes.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
Oh, thanks for having me. Having me. And all y'all, thanks for checking in. Thanks for checking out the video. Chime in, leave a comment, let me know what y'all think about ransomware as a service. Is it your first time hearing about it? And if it is, are you scared? Because I'm scared. Either way, leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll check in with y'all next time.
Bye, guys.